Well, on behalf of MITAC, the MIT Activities Committee, we are thrilled to welcome Matt Lindblad here today from the MIT Sailing Pavilion, who's going to give an amazing virtual tour of one of the most amazing jewels on campus. The Sailing Pavilion just takes you away to, a place of calm and beauty, and it's amazing to have it on the MIT campus. So Matt will talk about the history of the sailing program, collegiate sailing, boat types and technology, and more. And so Matt, with that, if you can take us to the world of sailing today on this very steamy summer day in late June. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Diane, and thanks to MITAC for putting this together and gently prodding me to come up with the date and time and make it happen. But yeah, really excited to welcome all of you down here virtually. The MIT Sailing Pavilion and the program here is pretty unique in the world of collegiate sailing, but also in kind of the world of community sailing. We have been operating since 1936 when the Sailing Pavilion was built. The genesis of this was a group of students and faculty and staff who thought that sailing was a perfect activity for a campus located right here on the Charles River. And they wanted to link up with some of the other schools that were starting to get intercollegiate sailing going. This was around 1934, 35. And Professor Shell, Jack Wood, and a whole group of undergrads walked around campus with a drum, and they walked around campus beating the drum and making a big ruckus, and people were curious about what was going on. And they just kind of walked all through campus, and people started following them, and they led everybody to a room in building 10. And when they got there, they shut the door and started telling them about how we were going to get a sailing program going. And Professor George Owen and Professor Shell and a few other people from the Naval Architecture program designed a boat called the Tech Dinghy. And they designed it here. They had it built at the Herreshoff boat building company down in Bristol, Rhode Island. And operation, they got some of the more well-to-do people in the Boston area and MIT alums, and got them all in a room together on a weekday night. And they said, put your hand up to donate a dinghy. And by the time they were done, they had 30 dinghies guaranteed to be paid for. And they placed the order with the Herreshoff Boat Building Company. Now, as I walk around, we're gonna get to see some of the kind of things on the wall that speak to some of the historical things. We'll see some of the current sailing equipment that we have now, and we'll talk a little bit about the programs that are operating and kind of how the place works. But before I get into that, some of the kind of philosophies from 1936 when the pavilion opened are still in place today. And those are, the MIT Sailing Pavilion is a open door policy. It's a welcoming place. Anybody from the MIT community is always welcome to come down. We want to teach you about sailing and kind of show you that the accessibility of the sport and the activity to anybody that wants to learn. We have a lot of different avenues to learn how to sail down here. It's always free for MIT students to come down and learn how to sail, and then once they learn, to come out and take out boats. All the equipment is paid for by alumni donors. Some of the full-time positions and staffing positions are funded by MIT, so it's kind of a hybrid program where we do all our capital equipment is fundraised for from alumni, with the expectation that we keep the programs free for the students who are here today. All of our other memberships are basically, if you have a 6-month membership to the Recreation MIT Rec Sports, that pays for, includes the sailing pavilion. But you don't need a membership to come down and have lunch on the roof or something like that. So in terms of questions, if you have any questions as I kind of cruise through, if there's anything that you want to know about, just enter it in the chat, and I think Bufi will stop me and kind of raise the question, and I'd be happy to kind of delve into anything that you're interested in. We definitely have more than an hour's worth of things to cover here. So, what I talk about will be kind of an overview of stuff, but like if there's anything that particular you want to know more about, I'd love to get into more detail. So our technology here, I'm on an iPad with a Wi-Fi hotspot. So it's not a perfect system, and the video might be a little glitchy, but hopefully we can see things as we go. So this is the original design plan of the tech dinghy. You can see the line drawing. You can see designed by George Owen and Professor Smith, Walter Wood. See the plans approved. Walter Jack Wood was the original sailing master here at MIT. He, in the 85-year history now, we've only had 4 sailing masters. It was Jack Wood, Jerry Reed, Hatch Brown, and now currently Fran Charles is our sailing master. In the summer, he goes up to Maine, and I stand in for him for the summers as the acting sailing master. Here you can see these are some thank you plaques that commemorate some of the different fleets that we've fundraised for and the donors who have made them happen. Basically, every 7 to 10 years, we replace a fleet boats. So that's typically somewhere between $7,000 and $11,000 per boat for most of our small dinghies. And alumni get the option of naming them when they donate. And so as you can see, this was our most recent tech dinghy fundraising, and you can see some of the fun names that people come up with. They're meaningful in many different ways to themselves, or you can see there's a boat named Hatch, a boat named Officer Sean Collier, Jerry Milgram, who's a famous boat designer from MIT, a professor, and also some fun names, River Rat, Ruthie's, Wildcat, etc. All right, so one of the places I wanted to start here is with our roof deck. It's a little hot out here today, but generally this is a really great place to come bring your lunch and kind of step out of the office. Picnic tables are always open, and you just generally come in through the front door, and you can come out and eat out here on the roof, or if you have some, we have Wi-Fi here. We're on the MIT Wi-Fi situation, so you can come in and log in, get some emails done or whatever. It's also one of our important revenue streams is we actually rent out our space to student groups and MIT groups for social functions. So, if you're planning something for your department or your student organization or anything else, please think of us. It's a great location for, full or 100 people or less to come down. We can do tent rentals, so we can hook you up with a rental company that'll put a nice big tent up over the roof deck and provide some shade, depending on how fancy and expensive you want to get. And there's a bunch of great local catering options here in Cambridge that can do catering for your event. We have this space, and then we also have a space down on the dock that we rent, and the pricing depends on like your student groups are less expensive, and MIT groups are a little more expensive, and then private groups are more expensive than that. All right, how are we doing? Any questions so far?
Yeah, we have one question from Gloria. Can we go to the pavilion with a COVID pass upstairs with a COVID pass and MIT ID?
Yes. So currently, as we go through the summer, things will get more permissive as as hopefully the COVID situation gets better. You can stop by as a visitor. So I think we're sort of just getting back to having people come and hang out again. It's probably the hardest thing about giving up with COVID was like just trying to move people in to go sailing and then out so that we weren't congregating, so that we weren't breaking in any of the MIT space policies. But it seems like as those policies are more permissive now, we can get back to like people just hanging out, having lunch at the picnic tables, etc. So all you need, just like any other campus space, if you're in COVID pass, you can come down and just go in, hang out up on the roof, or sit in a chair down on the dock or whatever, and just stop by and hang out.
Awesome,
And,
thanks.
You got it. This is on the wall here. There's some neat stuff. I just wanted to kind of touch on it briefly. So this gentleman here is John Bertrand. He was a MIT grad student in the 70s, and he has the amazing distinction of being the first skipper to win the America's Cup who is not an American, or the first foreign team to win the America's Cup. And that happened in 1983. Pretty famous series in the sailing world. The New York Yacht Club had held the America's Cup for something like over 100 years. It was the longest winning streak in sports. And John Bertrand was the skipper of the Australian boat that beat Dennis Conner in his Stars and Stripes, his Liberty boat. And they won the America's Cup, took it down to Australia, and battled with Dennis Conner in the 1986 version, and Conner famously won it back. But John Bertrand, when he was an MIT undergrad, MIT grad student, so in 1998 he wrote this letter and sent it to the Sailing Pavilion, which we had framed up along with some of these other pictures. So the neat story for that was in like 2014 or so. It was like a Monday afternoon, and I was just hanging out, just taking care of some stuff, and there were some people down here, guy in jeans and a t-shirt, white t-shirt, comes walking in with his wife, and pretty nondescript guy, just jeans and a t-shirt, asked me to look up his sailing card. I was like, yeah. He's like, what's your name? John Bertrand. I'm like, oh, John Bertrand. So I spent one of the coolest days of my career here at MIT was spending the next hour with him and his wife, kind of walking through the Sailing Pavilion, hearing stories about what he did as a sailor, how MIT Sailing Pavilion and the people here convinced him to sail the Finn. He actually took one of our boats to the Finn North Americans up in Canada and did pretty well. And then he thought, maybe, and got really encouraged to pursue the Olympics. And he went to the Olympics and won a medal at the Olympics. And that's what helped him get selected for the America's Cup, starting skipper for Australia. And he told me stories about Jerry Milgram, who was the prototypical absent-minded professor. He would, ride around campus in a snowstorm with bare feet on his bike because he just forgot to put on shoes that day, or, other kind of crazy stuff like that. And so that, and John Bertrand is like a national hero in Australia. He said that he is, you know, stopped almost every day on the street, and people say, "Oh, I remember where I was when you guys won the cup," and all that. So just one of the many famous alumni from our program. This is Ralph Evans. He's a silver medalist in the 1948 Olympics. And we have an endowment in his name that helps support our sailing team and our ocean-going vessel. And Ralph Evans was also a fighter pilot in World War II, and came back to MIT as after the war, and got his degree, but also represented the US at the Olympics in London. He has the distinction of, he was leading going into the last race, winning the gold medal, and was lost in that last race, moved to second in the series against, and the winner, the gold medalist there, was a gentleman named Paul Elvstrom, and he's widely regarded as the most successful Olympian. I think he had something like 7 gold medals throughout his career. That was his first. And he's also famous for the saying that if you, in winning the race, you lose the respect of your competitors, then you haven't won anything at all. And that kind of saying from like the best sailor of his, you know, many different generations, the most successful sailor, has really helped shape the sport of sailing, I think. Sportsmanship is written into the rules in sailing, into the world sailing rules. And, you know, it's a self-police sport for the most part. And yeah, it's really, really important tone that was set by Paul Elvstrom. This is us hosting the national championships in I think that is early 90s. Those boats are Larks, but you can see the action right on the dock. That's kind of like one of our kind of famous things about coming and competing at MIT. When you sail here, you're always kind of right front and center. Sometimes you're getting heckled by people on the dock as you're racing and that kind of thing. This is the kind of entranceway here. You can see in 2018, we won the national championship for collegiate sailing. That was a pretty big deal for us. We were, you know, we're a pretty competitive program most of the time, the varsity team. You know, we're always in the top 15 in the country, usually top 10 in New England, which is the most competitive conference. But that year we really just, with that couple of years, we had a squad that just was not willing to accept defeat, and they worked really hard, and it culminated with a national championship, and they did it in a pretty amazing way. We won A division and we won B division, so there's 2 divisions, and your combined score is your team score. So we won both divisions, and we won by 55 points, which was like the 3rd or 4th highest margin of victory over the 2nd place team. So it was a really special year for our program. This half model here, this boat is called Mashney. It was designed by Nathaniel Herreshoff, who I'm going to talk about in a second, and it's currently owned by MIT Sailing. So the boat was built in 1902. It's called a Buzzards Bay 30, built by Herreshoff, designed by Herreshoff, and it's currently up in Salem being launched, and we're probably going to have it out in front of the sailing pavilion in a few days, maybe as long as you know, afterwards. But it's going to be sitting. If you look out on the water there, there's that little dot right out there. That's a mooring, and that's where Mashney is going to be sitting for a few weeks. So if you drive by campus, you might get to take a look and see great big white sailboat. Looks like that. I'm sitting out campus and going sailing. So if you want to go sailing on Mashney, I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'd love to have you come down and go sailing if you can come on campus. All right, so Nathaniel Herreshoff Nathaniel Herreshoff is kind of widely acknowledged as the most successful boat designer, maybe of all time, in terms of like the success of his boats, but certainly he pioneered a design boat that were just the dominant force in competitive sailing for a really long time. And so he was MIT class of 1869. He was a, no, I'm sorry, 1870. But there's Daniel Herreshoff is known as the Wizard of Bristol because his boat building company was in Bristol, Rhode Island, and he designed America's Cup winners from 1893, 1901, 1895, 1920, and the boats that his final design of boats were called J class, and they were 120 feet long and just massive, amazing technological designs for the time. You can see there how much sail area, and you can imagine the kinds of loads involved with supporting a mast with that much sail area, moving a boat that size at 10, 12 knots through the waves. These championships were held off of Newport, which is known for Rhode Island Sound's known for its high winds and big seas. And Nathaniel Herreshoff designed some just absolute unbeatable boats. So he's one of our most famous sailing alums, and there's some great work being done by Kurt Hasselback at the MIT Museum. He has like an amazing collection of all of the Nathaniel Herreshoff designs. And it's really well organized, digitized, and has a really amazing exhibit at the MIT Museum. It's called the Hart Nautical Collection. And Herreshoff has a great display there. The other thing, Nathaniel Herreshoff, some of like his more unique designs, not just a standard like racing yachts. He designed a catamaran that was a racing catamaran. Catamarans now are like the fastest boats for the most part that are raced actively. And Nathaniel Herreshoff was one of the very first designers of like a racing catamaran. And it was so successful that New York Yacht Club kicked him out. They wouldn't allow him to race his catamaran on their annual cruise, which is like basically race from one place to another, spend the night, race from one place to another, spend the night. They wouldn't allow him to race his catamaran in any of their series because it was just so fast, nobody could keep up. And so they banned catamarans, 2 hulls from any of their racing. Some neat, fun pictures here. Hatch Brown. This is the Hatch Brown lobby. Hatch Brown was a sailing master here from sometime in the 60s all the way till 1993. I think he had a 35-year career as sailing master here. He was an MIT. He's a BU undergrad, won A division at the national championships in 1959. He was a veteran, and then he came to MIT as a sailing master and did an amazing job building the program and just getting things up and running. Before I leave the lobby, one of our unique things here, and I'll talk a little bit about our membership system, but we have these sailing cards. All of these card catalogs back here are filled with little index cards, and those are called sailing cards. And it's basically the membership card that we have to verify that you're a member. Also, it lets us know you have various ratings, and with the ratings, it lets us know kind of what you're allowed to sail and, kind of how closely we need to keep an eye on you. If you're somebody like this, you just have the swim rating. That means you passed your swim test, but you're pretty much a beginner when you're out there. if you're somebody with a lot more holes punched in your card, let me find one of those. Then we know that, you know, if you're out there, you know what's going on, and you can also sail a bunch of different, so like this person, they have their helmsman rating, and the helmsman, you know, now the helms person, but the helmsman rating is the kind of cream of the crop, right? That means you can sail any of our boats in any wind condition, and you're really experienced sailor. And we have all of the sailing cards that go all the way back to opening in 1936. I'll see if I can. Sorry about that video there. So this card is from 1939. And you can see, you know, person's handwriting. And we have these, every card that we've issued is somewhere in these card catalogs here. All right, so, and we still have the cards, we still use the cards now. We have an online computer system that we do to, you know, kind of manage our memberships, but we still print out the cards. And then when people come down to go sailing, they take the little part of their card and they put it up on whatever boat that they're going to take. You pin it to this board, and then, you know, we can look out, we'll see the sail number 20, and we can look at your card and we can say, oh, great, that person has, you know, the tech rating and they have the helms person rating. So we know that they know what they're doing. Or, you know, maybe they just have a swim rating or a beginner rating, and we know that, you know, they might need a pointer or two while they're out there sailing. Again, the cards are open to anybody. They're free for all MIT students, graduate and undergrad. And then anybody with a 6-month or an annual DAPR membership is eligible to have a sailing card. And basically, it's just included in the membership. You can come down, take the classes. We have beginner lessons that are offered Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings. And then again on Sunday, we have a learn to sail class. So that Sunday one is like 5 hours, and it's all in one. Or you can sign up for a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and kind of come 3 nights in a row and learn how to sail. So depending on your schedule and your time and your preference, you can either put it all together, do it.
Great. Matt, real quick, we have a couple of questions regarding that. The first one from Gloria. Can we still access the pavilion as alumni if we are in the database?
Yes. So the way the memberships work is, you know, if you're just going to stop by for an occasional sail, like you live out of town and you're just going to stop by and, you know, visit campus, you want to go for a sail, anytime you want, come down. You can go for a sail on your old sailing card. You know, that's why we keep them. We love to have alumni come in and pull out their old card and go for a sail in the current version of Tech Dinghies. If you want to, like, you know, be a regular member and have access to the sailing pavilion and go sailing a lot, like on a weekly basis, then you should probably get a 6-month membership at the Z Center, and that's like kind of officially what you should have. The third option, though, is that all of our learn to sail lessons are taught by volunteers, and often they're alumni who learn to sail at MIT. And we love to give complimentary memberships to alumni or to anybody that wants to come down and help run those classes. They're a lot of fun to help run them. It makes you better at sailing yourself when you start teaching other people how to do it. And then it also gets you access to come down and go sailing whenever you want.
All right, Gloria says thank you. And then next question from Yi.
Yeah.
How about MIT staff? What are the rules for MIT staff?
So staff are kind of same deal. You know, if you're gonna use a place regularly, you should get a DAPR membership. If you know how to sail and you want to come down and volunteer, again, we'd love to do the complimentary membership for you. Yeah. if you have a sailing card already and you've like sailed before, you could again kind of do like, you know, when in town type sailing on your old cards.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Seems to be it for now, but I'll let you
cool.
know as they come in.
All right, so here is a cool artifact. So this is one of our original tech dinghies, the ones that I was describing, built by the Herreshoff Sailing Boat Manufacturing Company back in 1935. It's white pine, I think, or white oak. I should know that, sorry. But this is like the original, one of the original fleet. It's boat number 1 called the Neutrino. And you can see it is authentic. We still get it out when the alumni come to town, put it out on the dock, put it in the water, get it all swelled up. The wood kind of dries out if it's not put in the water every once in a while. So we put it in and just get it all swelled up, but still can sail. Yeah, that's how it's what everyone learned how to sail in back in those days. And we still have tech dinghies to this day. The boat that we, you know, teach people how to sail in and do some racing in. It's a really versatile boat because it can handle 2 people or 3 people for just kind of cruising around, but then it can also be raced by 1 or 2 people and have some really good tactical racing. And very easy to handle as a beginner. We're actually right now, this very moment, we're in between fleets. We sold our boats in the fall and the new ones are due to come in the next couple weeks. So the next generation of tech dinghies is being built in Peabody at the Whitecaps Composite boat building shop. And they're going to be awesome. So these boats here, they're called Fireflies. This is probably our oldest fleet right now. And we're about to sell these boats. So we're gonna sell these boats off this summer and replace them with a fleet of other racing sailboats called 420s. 420s are a very popular youth class, and they're also the boats that are sailed in college sailing as well. So we're gonna replace the Fireflies with some 420s. And this is actually, we have 6 420s, but we're going to replace the Fireflies with a fleet of 18 420s. So this boat 29 here is an example of what a 420 is. So I showed you a boat from 1936, and now I'm going to show you a boat from like 2019. This is where sailing is going in the future. The boat is called the UFO. It's the unidentified foiling object. And try to do my best to show, but this right here is a foil. So this horizontal foil, when the boat is sailing along, it actually lifts up out of the water and rides on that wing there. Okay. And there's also a foil on the rudder. Okay, so you can see the middle of the boat here. That's where the main foil is. So that keeps the boat up out of the water. And then the T-foil on the back kind of gives it stability so that it doesn't pitch forward or pitch back. And one of the cooler designs here, a neat piece of engineering, is you have this wand at the front here. And this controls the trailing edge of the foil. If you think about it, so when the boat is in the water, sailing along in the water, the foil needs to apply lift to get the boat up out of the water. But if it continues to apply lift when the boat is out of the water, the boat will just continue to rise, and then the foil will come out of the water, and then the boat will crash down. So you need to have a way to control the height of the boat. And as a sailor, if the person sailing the boat were trying to control the height of the boat while sailing it, it would just be too much. It would require too much skill to constantly be adjusting the height of the boat, right? And trying to trim that horizontal wing to keep the boat riding level. So somebody with some real ingenuity designed this wand. Okay, so this C-foil is usually like 3 or 4 feet down below the boat, right? So this here would normally be there, right? So that it can't be there because the boat's up on the dock, but normally that would be much further down. And when it's in that lowered position, this wand, when it's sailing along in the water, this wand is pressed back because of the water, right? So it's sailing along in the water, and that's telling the foil, lift, lift, lift. Okay, but once it comes out of the water, the wand goes forward because now it's not touching the water anymore. And that tells the foil, okay, go neutral, right? We're out of the water, stay neutral. And so it's a pretty ingenious system to control the height of the ride without having the sailor have to do it. Is that a question that just popped up?
Yeah, we have a couple of questions about the UFO. First question, how much does it weigh?
The UFO is pretty light. In order to foil, it has to be pretty light. So I can, with just one hand, I can lift it up like that. So I'd say probably all up, boat weighs maybe 80 pounds.
Oh, incredible. Second question from Shannon, are individuals sitting or standing on the UFO?
So you kind of sit. When you're sailing along, you would have your feet hooked. I don't know if I can show that. Your feet would be hooked under this strap. Your legs would come this way. Your butt would be kind of out over the rail, and then your upper body would be kind of further out here. And you're leaning out as far as you can to get as much leverage so that your body weight is balanced against the power of the wind in the sail, right? Because in order to get this boat going fast enough for the foils to work, you have to have quite a bit of sail area. And if you just have a lot of sail area and you don't use your weight to balance the force of the wind in the sail, then you wind up just tipping. So, you pull in your sail, you lean way, way, way out and get as much leverage as you can, and that balances out the force of the wind in the sail, and that's what allows the boat to go forward. And that's the same principle in these other boats, so like the Fireflies and the FJs. Any small dinghy requires that sort of like pressure in the sail, use the crew weight to counteract that. And the leveraging using your body, that's called hiking. Okay, so if you ever hear the term hiking in sailing, it means hooking your feet under some straps and leveraging your body as far to counteract the force of the wind in the sail.
Cool, thank you so much. And that answers all of our questions for now.
Okay, super. So we have the boat shop. It's probably not worth spending too much time on this, but this is where we do a lot of the equipment to maintain all of these boats. So we have over 100 sailboats that MIT Sailing Pavilion owns and maintains. We have another type of foiling boat here called a Moth. It's disassembled right now, but that's kind of another boat that we have. And this is our main learning area. This is called the Shore School. So most of our classes have some component here with the whiteboard and the TV, and a cool little sailing trainer here that you can swivel around and everything. a mundane detail, but it's actually a really unique teaching tool. So other things that we have going on down here, in addition to the space rental, we also rent out one of our boat bays to the ocean or to the mechanical engineering department, and they've turned it into a lab. Some of the projects that run in here involve autonomous little kayaks or autonomous little catamarans that they have a couple different uses for. One project that was going on for a long time down here and has continued elsewhere is a project where basically it was a capture the flag game where one person was in a kayak and they were controlling like 3 drone kayaks. And so it was like a game theory thing where you would play against another person in a kayak and you had a big field of play and you basically had to get a flag and bring it back across the middle line, capture the flag. But the project it was working on was, it was funded by the Air Force, and they were using that to help develop human drone interactions. And so they, in terms of like a pilot controlling drones while they were, flying an airplane in a dogfight scenario. So that was one cool research project that went on down here. Every spring there's a class that teaches programming of autonomous boats, autonomous vehicles down here out on the river. So the class comes down, meets here in the lab, and they actually get to take these boats and put them out on the river and run them through the various designs and programs. And it's a pretty amazing and unique opportunity for the students to actually get to do that in person, minds and hands. And a lot of, funnily enough, a lot of the sailing team members have been students in that class, and then have also gone on to like Woods Hole and other jobs in the and research opportunities, because they're just so well qualified having had that experience. These gentlemen were going to give me a little 30-second pitch on what they're working on. This is a different project.
So, I'm Saad. These are my colleagues, Waleed and Osby. We are from the Signal Kinetics lab in Media Lab. And we're working on a project where we are trying to basically communicate underwater using the lowest power technology, which is backscatter. So as you can see, like we have wires going all the way into the river. And these wires are connected to transducers, which can basically communicate with each other. And the way it works is that you have a transmitter, which sends out sound signals to another node. And what the other node does is that it harvests energy from the sound. So it just gets powered up from the sound. And once it has enough energy, it can just reflect the signal. So it can either, like, think of it as a mirror. So it can either reflect the signal or it can decide not to reflect it. And then you can place a hydrophone which can sense these reflections. And by sensing these reflections, you can decode the signal, because you can encode it like 1 is a reflection and 0 is like when there's no reflection. So you could have binary data, and you can communicate in this way. But like the thing is that since you are powering up everything from the transmitter, or from the sound, you don't really need any battery on the node. So it's like everything is batteryless. So this is like the lowest power underwater communication possible.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's awesome. Any questions on the experiment?
None came in, but it sounds incredible.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. So we always have various research projects going on down here, which is kind of cool. In this boat bay, we have some of the sails that we use for the varsity sailing team. And then we also have some windsurfers. We have a bunch of windsurfing equipment. Windsurfing is a really popular activity down here. We have classes to do beginner windsurfing. Kind of after you take that basic sailing class and you get your provisional rating, then you can start sailing other boats. Windsurfing is one of our really popular one. We have boats called lasers, and those are over here under these covers. The lasers are boats that are made to plane. So in a wind like this, you can get going really fast, kind of just skipping along the surface of the water. They're pretty tippy and require some skill to kind of keep them upright, but they are really, really fun boats. One of the nice, most appealing things about sailing is that it's just a really diverse world of activities. So you can do everything from competitive racing against the best teams in the country. You can go for a really physical, like, really physically demanding sail in a laser or a windsurfer. Or you can go for a nice relaxing sail on a boat like the Mashni, which is the Herreshoff boat I was describing. Or the next boat I'm gonna describe is this boat here called the boat. And the cat boat is it's a older design, probably from the late 1800s. They were really popular. The hallmark of a cat boat, I'll see if I can get kind of stern of it, but it's a very wide boat. So its width is usually half of its length. That's kind of one of the hallmarks of a cat boat. The other thing is that the mast is very far forward, which means that it has a great big cockpit. So there's a huge space for people to sit, and it's just got one sail. It's supported at the top by a spar called a gaff, and the gaff is just an extra spar to kind of keep the sail under control, because it's a four-sided sail instead of a three-sided sail. Most of the other racing dinghies have a three-sided sail. Now the cat boat is a pretty different boat. It's not tippy at all relative to the sailing dinghies that we have. It's not quite a keel boat, so it still has a centerboard, but because it's so wide, it's extremely stable. I'm gonna try, we'll see if this works, but I'm gonna try to take you all out for a quick virtual sail in the cat boat. Let's see if I can pull this off. I'm just gonna have to throw the iPad in for a second, get the boat off the dock, and then we'll deal with the video again in a second. All right, let's see if this will work. All right, we're on sailing now. So you can see we've got the sail up. I don't know if the video is going to be too choppy here, but it is pretty amazing. Once you leave the shore here, you get a totally different perspective on campus. Hang on one sec, I'm gonna get us going here. zoom in the sail a little bit. I'm gonna get us a little further away, and then we'll do a tack, which is when you turn towards the wind and turn all the way through the wind so that the sail switches sides. And once we're on the other tack, we should have a nice view of campus kind of going parallel to the Cambridge shoreline. Nice breeze today. It's the only place on campus that isn't stifling, so good place to escape to. All right, we'll do a quick tack turn here. Oops. Woo, tipping over nice. So you can see that's Killian Court there. Flags above it, Mass Ave Bridge. And some nice big blasts. One of the bummers of the virtual aspect of this tour is I can't see the fear in your eyes that you would normally have heeling over in a sailboat. But just kidding.
Yeah, I will say there is someone who is terrified that you're going to drop the iPad. She can't help but hold her breath.
Wow. It'll survive. I drop the iPad all the time. It's got a case on it.
Diane is asking, how long have you been sailing, Matt?
So I started sailing when I was like 15. My sailing story is, I grew up in Connecticut, like on the Connecticut coast, but I didn't have a sailing background or like access to sailboats until I had it. My public high school had a sailing club, and my parents told me I had to do a couple activities in high school, so I figured that would be one I might try. And I showed up and was lucky to get involved in a team that had some good sailors on it, and kind of taught me a lot. And I took some lessons and really caught the bug. And then I was lucky in college. The college I chose was, partially because of the sailing team there, but had a really good racing team called St. Mary's College in Maryland. And that was what really got me hooked. But the world of sailing is really neat. As I said, like there's just so many different things to attract, like if you like tweaking and boat building and design, there's types of boats that you can do a lot of that. If you just like cruising, you can just cruise. If you like, going to exciting places, you can get a boat and sail offshore. See down Beacon Hill, and you can see, I don't know if you can see the pink tugboat down there by the Longfellow Bridge.
A little bit. Real quick, to everyone here, we have a survey that my colleague Anthony dropped in the chat. If you could please fill that out for us, that would be a great help. And Diane, have a follow-up question for you, Matt. How long have you been at the MIT Sailing Pavilion?
So I've been at MIT for 15 years now. I think so I started in the fall of 2006. So, but it's as I said, the Sailing Pavilion here is like a really amazing, unique place. There's really the school I came from, I was coaching at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island. You know, they had a varsity sailing team that I was the head coach of for 5 years, and then I loved working there, and we were building a really good program. But you know, when I got the opportunity to come to MIT, it was a no-brainer. It was probably one of the maybe 2 programs I would have left Roger Williams for, were MIT and then maybe my alma mater at St. Mary's, if that had been an opportunity for me. But yeah, MIT sailing is world renowned as the birthplace of college sailing, and it's just a really unique spot. So I guess the final part of the tour is just to really encourage everyone to come down and visit us in person. Yeah, it's here for you, and it's almost a crime not to take advantage of it and at least come down and check it out and see if you like it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm personally very thrilled that you chose to come to MIT, because we love having you here.
Thanks a bunch. Thank you.
Lots of people here saying that they now would really want to sail and will probably drop by. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thanks for putting this together. Really appreciate it, and hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you again so much, Matt. Truly amazing. Was just a beautiful day today out on the water and learning about the Sailing Pavilion. Thank you so much.